Well, morning, everybody. It's the 16th now, halfway through June already. Can't believe that. But today we're going to extend on the SMART goals, Kyle, kind of like you were talking about. And I've been working on those last week. And then hit on overcoming fear and taking action a little bit. I saw this cool post from Elon Musk. I'll screen share. And this kind of hit home a little bit. Anxiety, what if you're not good enough? I get that with pressure from, just entering in deals and other big dogs and trying to like step up and perform. And I think a lot of anxiety comes from either that or people are worried about being judged. And how I overcome that is I just do it because I like things that kind of stretch my comfort zone. So I don't know if that'll work for everybody. And that's why we're going to talk about the SMART goals again. So I'm guessing everybody here is familiar with SMART goals, but the SMART goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and then time bound. What we're doing with it this week is we're taking those SMART goals to hit the daily 100 that we got from Alex Hormozy that we talked about. So 100 minutes every single day of marketing is my goal throughout this entire week. And then I'm using the SMART goals to break it down to every single afternoon. I'm going to call all the new foreclosures between, I'm trying to hit it between like 5 and 7 p.m. because I'm trying to increase our answer rate. And then for at least 3 days on Wednesday afternoon, and then Thursday day, Friday day as well, I'm going door knocking for at least 4 hours for every one of those days. So those are my SMART goals for the week. And we wanted to start getting people going back into these goals because this is supposed to be for accountability, right? And hit our weekly goals and then talk about them every Monday morning and how we all went and get each other in here with some accountability on some other people. So that's my SMART goal for this week. And we thought we could each go over all of our SMART goals and then write them down. Kick your guys' ass next week if you don't do them. So, Jen, do you have anything else to say to that?
I don't know, because you were talking about like fear and everything. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, so something that cold calls is kind of something that a lot of people don't like to do, including myself. And Chad and I were talking earlier about how to overcome that. And, everyone has probably their own strategy. But for me, I just have to tell myself, they don't know who I am. They don't know, they don't know what I look like. They don't even know my phone number. And so I just kind of use that anonymous part to just go with it. Just do it because they're never going to know who you are. And that works for me. So I know everyone kind of has something different, but just a thought when you're cold calling and don't really want to do it.
Yeah. And I heard Grant this weekend to talk about that, how he's like a total introvert, Grant Gale, and how he pushed through that. He doesn't like approaching people and talking to people, but obviously he pushed through it. And then it tied it back into my training from the big dogs where they kind of start you out in baby steps, If you're not willing to go knock on a door, maybe pull up in front of the house and put it in Snapflip Bank, and then drive off and call the person. And if you're not willing to call them, then send them a text, or the cool thing about the SMART goals is it's supposed to be achievable. And Kyle, you hit on this a couple meetings ago. Like you said, I want to go to the gym every single day, but it's not practical because your body won't let you, right? Mm-hmm. And so it has to be achievable.
But always has to be achievable. Mm-hmm. You can set a SMART goal that says, I want to do 2,000 calls a day. Well, the only block of time that you have is between noon and 1. I don't think you're going to make 2,000 calls a day. So the better goal would be, I want to make calls from 12 to 1. Mm-hmm. And just be diligent with not the number of calls, the quality of those calls, and the consistency of those calls between 12 and 1. So it's always setting the attainable goal. And I know that I can achieve the goal between 12 and 1, but I don't know that I can necessarily achieve a number. maybe after being consistent, I can use some metrics and say, I want to eliminate the distraction cost that causes me to stop working from 12 to 1 so I can ensure that 12 to 1 is my timeline. And so doing the things that make 12 to 1 successful, when you go back at the end of your day and say, what did I do? Well, I know that I did 12 to 1 today.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's what I started with, Kyle, is just blocking my day. And I'm trying, because I have that I'm calling between 10 and 1 and calling between 3 and 6. So those are my calling times, but I haven't got enough consistency yet so I don't know what that practical number is. So I'm kind of doing the same thing, but I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing each hour. I'm not so good at sticking to it, but I keep changing it, and it's been 3 weeks now, and I keep changing it, and I still haven't met it once, but one of these days. And I have in there, learning, because also I think that an hour of learning, and then what's killed my time yesterday was just pulling comps. I did not allow for that, so it was crazy.
VA every single afternoon for 4 hours for several months. We've been able to track that, Amy. That helped us out with the cold calling, dropping voicemail, and getting some consistency in there. That was like our first step to consistent marketing.
that's great.
But if you guys volunteer to say a few minutes of what you guys want to do this week and get done, then we can start to apply this for next week for some accountability like we're trying to do.
Well, one of the things that I really want to do, not only in this week, but I need to be better at it, is I used to, when I had 52 employees that were depending on me to run a business successfully every day, I used to have a better accountability of my calendar before the calendar day. And so, granted, I had 2 assistants and several other people who would put things on my calendar, but it's still having the accountability of when you open up your calendar on Monday morning, everything that's supposed to happen for Monday morning should be in your calendar. For Monday should be in your calendar, not just Monday morning. Instead of where I'm at today, a lot of times I won't get the time to actually put tasks on my calendar to fill the gaps in my calendar, because nobody can schedule time on my calendar the day of my calendar. So reality is that by 8 o'clock at night, the night before, my calendar should be to a point where I can just successfully put blocks of time and tasks to do in the dead spots if other people haven't scheduled my day. So, and I'm not doing that like I used to. So I need to make sure that I'm accountable to myself throughout the day instead of leaving opportunities for distraction cost.
Yeah, that's a good one. One of my mobile home park mentor, he's talked about that a lot, how on Sundays, he can look at his entire week every single day and know what's going on. Every Sunday, he does that consistently. He has for many years, and he has a notepad that goes back like 10 years with all his daily tasks.
Yeah, and it's important to some people. I have a client base in my consulting business, so I have a client base that will commonly add things to my calendar. Plus, we also have 2 different real estate groups, and everybody has access to my calendar. LinkedIn has access to my calendar. So people have access to my calendar via LinkedIn. That's what I was saying. So I don't want my calendar to be completely inflexible to having people wait a week before they can schedule a meeting.
Yeah.
But to have 1 or 2 full days back to back, being 2 days ahead of my calendar would be great.
I've somehow kind of accidentally fell into Tuesdays being a marketing day or networking day all day. I end up on the phone all day Tuesday but all right, calendar for Kyle.
I was going to say something, in relation to SMART goals is like, for you, Kyle, you can plan to clean and organize, your week schedule, by Sunday night or something like that. So that's just maybe a way that you could possibly use that.
Yep.
So
ChatGPT is getting really deep on everything too.
I did this in my public health degree as well. We focus on SMART goals a lot. So
yeah, I like SMART goals. Who wants to say something else? What about Joe? What you doing up there in Delaware? What are your goals for the week, man?
Funny enough, I think my goal this week is going to be the same goal I had the first week we had this meeting when I was driving out to Delaware, and that is to get this cold caller, or not cold caller, but acquisition / dispo agent onboarded. I just finished up my subcontractor agreement yesterday on a whole day wordsmithing with ChatGPT. So my main goal is to really get rocking and rolling. I've kind of taken a step back through this transition, kind of, getting used to things in Delaware again. So things have been moving really slow, and I need to get things rolling and just get the ball rolling, because right now there's no momentum.
I mentioned ChatGPT. It gave us a suggestion earlier to do a daily SMART goal if you're working with anybody else, where we throw it in Slack, each one of us, and then discuss it at the end of the day. So taking it one day at a time might help with, little baby steps. And like Brandon Turner talks to that too. He's like, even 5 minutes a day is better than what you're doing right now usually. So any type of consistency should bring some result.
And
yeah,
Slack
I've
is
been
our
meaning
communication talk for all of our employees. So.
Got it. So you guys use Slack for all of the employee communication between all of the teams and everything?
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And then it integrates with Podio and your CRMs.
Does it?
Oh, that's good to know.
It's got workflows. Slack's pretty cool once you start figuring it out.
It's a lot in the beginning. I wasn't a fan.
Yeah, as long as you're ensuring that. So here's the IT security guy. So as long as you're ensuring that you're paying for the account, because all of your content is owned by the cloud provider that you use. The only security you might have, or only recourse you might have to protecting your intellectual property knowledge, is if it's in a paid account. But then nobody ever does it, but read your end user license agreement before you check that box.
Okay. Well, I know we're paying for it, so we got at least something going right. Angela, what do you got? How many deals have you closed or signed under contract this week? Angela's going to be the super closer, I think.
This week is done. This week just started yesterday. But I found a buyer. I have to read his contract. He's a new guy, so I have to read his contract. He got me an offer like the next day, or approval the next day. And I'm like, okay, let me read this. And he's been on it like, hey, you got any questions? And I'm like, wait. Let me talk to my attorney, because this just feels weird. But so that's the only thing I'm working on. It's just been a lot of motion. I think honestly, I want to slow down and just realign myself. Unfortunately, I have to sit down with my thoughts to get that specific and figure out how that's measurable. But I just want to slow down. I've been doing a lot of networking, and I feel like a lot of my time has been going towards, and this sounds bad when I say it out loud, just like pointless communication. And I feel like you really want to be strategic. I feel like a lot of people are looking to learn, and I'm not really in a space to be teaching just yet. I'm like, I need to be sure that I'm good. They say on the airplane, put on your mask before you help anybody, put on theirs. And I'm just like, okay, I need to kind of get back to that. because 1 week it will be great. I'll be, you know, doing great. I'm talking to people. I'm getting contracts signed. And the next week it's like silence. And that kind of goes into me not having a system, and me having connections that aren't really beneficial. I don't want to say pointless. Beneficial is a much better word. But it's kind of slowing down, figuring out how my time can manage me and how I can manage my time and not it manage me.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, no, okay. Well, something I don't know that I was looking at is it's for one of our SMART goals is like we'll journal for maybe 5 minutes, after every seller to figure out maybe your next steps from there and to figure out, was this productive? Was it not? Should I continue to follow up?
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
And Angela, I've spent a ton of time on the phone helping people with zero rewards so far as well. I can relate to that.
It's difficult because it's just like I want to help, but I have to help myself first. I have to find some consistency, a system. I don't. I want to have some type of level plan with this, and it's up and down. So I'm just like, I have to manage that to where it's consistent, even if it's like one lead a week. I'm cool with that versus it being, 3 leads, no lead, no lead, no lead, 3 leads. I'm like, I gotta get me a system going. Hopefully that works out better with managing it.
Yeah. Amy or Rosalind, would you guys care to go, or Rosalind, introduce yourself too? And actually,
yes, I am.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm thinking about great comments here and personal remarks, and I think I have struggled with one thing is the training I have got before, because I spent most of my life in high tech, but then I'm still licensed in California. I was a realtor and investor in California, Northern California, Silicon Valley. And the coaches we worked with, door knocking and cold calling was not on what we should do. It was like, okay, just, more advanced in a way, not advanced, but different types of, online marketing or various other forms of marketing, but not cold calling or door knocking. They were not recommending that it was just very time consuming, and so maybe it was because also it was there were coaches that were more directed towards a traditional real estate role instead of investor, number one, and number two, how things are done in that area. Especially dealing with a lot of people. We work in high tech, and you have so many of the Google people and the Facebook, all of that, and a lot of people not being home or not picking up their phone because they don't use much. Maybe they use texting, but probably not the phone very much. So now I have had to readjust to this cold calling and door knocking as a viable form, for what we want to achieve in this market and for the investment. So I'm okay with that. Actually, I scheduled. I've hardly ever done door knocking, just a few times, but definitively where I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, you just did not want to go door knocking. It was not well received. So I'm going to go with Grant, I believe it is. in his neighborhood, just to kind of go through that first step. As we were talking earlier, sometimes we procrastinate in some things and then just go for it. I'm at a stage where, okay, who cares? I'm going to do whatever, and then we'll see. But I've been really wanting to use my time wisely, because that's the only thing we have is our time, and just work from there and try it, because I have not really tried it. So that's my goal, is to start it, get some list, make and really go through those basics. Before I had assistants too, so I was not getting into those details for myself, but it's another phase. It's a new phase, so I just really now seriously, okay, just go for it. As you said, just do those goals, no matter how big or how small, and achieve them and consistently, and move from there.
Jump off the cliff.
So you know what? Texting is a big thing, though. You can still do the texting. Grant gets 50% of his deals from texting. So if you don't want to call or door knock, that's a great option. And we've been getting a lot more responses as well from texting.
But as far as door knocking, if you want to go with me, I'm going in Dallas. I'll introduce you to Craig Martin too. He does a lot of it, and then I know a door knocking coach, so we can give you more resources there.
Thank you.
Us too. But, Amy, what you got? Are you out there crushing it? You always seem like you are.
Yeah.
It was nice seeing you this weekend too.
I know. Sorry, I'll turn my video on, but I'm really scary, y'all, because I was up till I have a situation. It's a good situation, but I'm looking for advice, so I'm not going to give you my goals, because I thought I would use this in a different way this morning, if that's okay, Chad. But I had a property, or a person that is in charge of a trust that has 9 properties. And so I was trying to analyze those, because she wanted to get them all at once. And here's my challenge. I ran comps and got all the things, and 2 of them are like over $1 million. And then there's a 300,000, two 700,000. So it's like a range that's kind of crazy, and I don't know what I can do to help, and how you even, get out there on top of that one.
What
we
is your
saw the
position?
sample.
What is your position in the deal? What is your position in the deal?
Well, just to make an offer to get him disposed.
And what is that person's position in the trust? You said they're responsible for the trust?
Yes.
And they want to get rid of assets that they currently have included in the trust that are
correct,
part of the trust. Okay. Treat every deal as an independent asset.
Okay.
Right.
That's the angle I was taking, because
right. You can create a discount at the end if somebody bought all assets or combinations of assets, but treat each asset as you're going to independently control each one, or manage the disposition of each one. Don't overcomplicate.
That was the approach I was taking, for sure.
Yep. Don't overcomplicate it, and do comps on all of them the same way that you would do it on any other asset.
Yep.
That's what I got together on those.
Yep.
Have you talked to?
I got the square footage, and
well, there's going to be a little bit more to that. If the asset belongs to a trust, there could be a lot of other little variable attachments to it that could be legal driven. So don't forget the unforeseen expenses in getting rid of an asset that's not owned by an individual.
Explain that a little more for me. I've not dealt with the trust.
There could be other legal barriers for you to just pull an asset out of a trust. So it's best to really understand more about the trust, because trusts don't work like a human works. Like a person owning an asset has much more control of the release of that asset. And there are things that trust there's other variables which protect the trust that also protect the assets in the trust. So it's a completely.
How do I
different
find that
animal.
out though?
Talking to the person who manages the trust, talking to the legal entity.
I could chat GPT smart questions for a trust.
Yeah. Maybe have you met Abby how do you say his last name? This dude?
Yes, that's the one I was. That's why I said yes to it, because I listened to him that one night and talk about how he how he closed on all those in like 5 days, and I was like, they're not desperate; they just want to. Though I think that's the difference here. It's just like, I don't know. I can't understand. It feels like I'm getting a lot of not direct answers. So I'm gonna.
Well, if somebody doesn't have urgency. Like I have desire to clean my garage.
That's what I feel like it's like right there. Yeah.
Yeah. So the urgency comes when Josie's at home and she says, it's about ready to hail. We need to get the other cars in the garage. And so there may be urgency in some cases, but if there's no urgency, then is it worth your time?
Yeah, she's had on the other part, and maybe that helps give me direction, because 2 of the properties have been listed. One is 271 days on the market, and the other is 225 on the market.
Get them to define your urgency in completing the task. Because if they don't have urgency, you don't have urgency. And you could probably spend a lot of your efforts into things that actually come to close in that time frame. If it's not time to eat, the fish aren't biting.
That's a good one. And this goes back to with what Rosalind was saying and kind of what Phil teaches with the need versus the urgency. If you're in a building that's on fire, you need to leave. And that's where the door knocking foreclosures is different than the people who you have to convince that they're going to want to sell you their house or whatever. So fire sale is what gives the motivation, right?
We've got 1 minute, and I want to share something that we haven't been able to that I haven't been able to share since the beginning of the conversation. And I just want to show this, and then we can possibly talk about it later. But essentially, this is one of my training documents that I have for my business owners. And it's confidence from within. It's taking those 3 fingers that when you're, how you want to do this? A lot of times you're pointing fingers at yourself for what other people inject into your life. And so breaking free from external validation, helping to eliminate the judgment of others in who you are as a business owner and where you are in your tasks. It's an extremely important task in the process of respecting yourself. And I'm huge on respect. I'm huge on respecting myself in the process of dealing with others. And part of that whole discussion about this, Amy, with this trust is, are you respecting yourself and your business model while other people are just dragging you along? Put the worm in the water, don't hold it above the water. I don't want to have to jump out of the water to get the worm. I'm a fish. I want to eat. So, and I like worms. So in that process of respect, you can create, you can allow others to disrespect your process through the tantalizing of a very big worm above the water, when you're never going to be able to jump out there to get it. So get them to put the worm in the water if they're interested in fishing. I guess that's the best way I can give that analogy. But in in the confidence from within, we talked about it right off the bat, Chad. It was sometimes we disrespect ourselves by allowing others to judge us for achievements we haven't attained to their standard.
Naysayers.
And so that standard is more than likely created by us, not created by them. The naysayer just likes to judge because they haven't done it themselves. So you'll never do it. If we already can beat down that demon and get ahead of that, then the goal is to create goals that we can achieve ourselves that allow us to build confidence in our goal achievements. And so use ourselves as our own criteria for judgment, not others. We have a peer group that can help us through some of the things that we struggle with, and we all have struggles. But confidence from within is one of your strongest strengths. You just have to learn how to build that muscle.
Yeah. That's awesome, Kyle. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen the Chase Hughes Joe Rogan, that's pretty good. And it all goes back to this human behavior, overcoming fear. Everything we talk about as big dogs, and learn to take the action and get in front of sellers, right? So, all right. Well, unless anybody's got anything else to say, let's get to work.
But yeah, let's write down some goals, after this.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Love seeing you guys this Monday morning. Appreciate you being here.
All right, we can reassess next week what we did this
Talk
week.
soon.
All right.
Yeah.
See you guys.
All right.
Hey,
bye.
Chad, do you have a couple minutes after this?
Yeah, sure, man. I'll hang out. Just stay on here. I'll just stop recording.
Okay.